Hey guys, Stock Saturday, and it's been a pretty good week. I'm up 6.8%, which is pretty good. I have put in another £2,000, which isn't included in that return. So yeah, pretty happy. Versus the S&P, 1.3% up for 1.34% for the past 5 days, and the Nasdaq is 1.74. So yeah, very surprising. This is sort of largely gold and silver based, which is rather a surprise. Crypto sort of not doing too bad, but yeah, this is sort of a good part of it in the options account and in the ISA on gold and silver miners, and sort of just general miners as well. Sort of Rio Tinto pushing up 57.85 now. Vale sort of still struggling, but sort of slightly coming up with copper prices dragging it up basically, and Glencore sort of getting almost back to £5. So yeah, very nice. And then you got Process sort of doing pretty well off the back of Tencent and a lot of Chinese stocks. And then sort of Taiwan Semiconductor still riding relatively high. Speaking of Taiwan Semiconductor, just looking at their April number for monthly revenue. Don't think I covered this last week. So an incredibly high number, 236 billion new Taiwan dollars, which is 59.6% up on last year. So we've been having sort of some relatively lowish numbers, sort of single and low double figures, and then sort of at a 34%. I thought this might have come down again, but yeah, 59%. Haven't seen sort of too much news as to what's driving this, whether it's Nvidia, presumably. I can't imagine Apple would be driving too much in sort of April time, but yeah, I'll have to see if there's sort of any more news. But yeah, pretty good. So we had Himax Technologies first quarter results, all looking sort of rather nice. They had Q1 revenues were 207 million, decrease of 8.8%. Quarter on quarter was expected to be between 9 and 16% decline, so that was pretty good. Gross margin at 29.3%, outperforming guidance of 28.5%. And yeah, they were expecting between 2 and 5 cents earnings, and they got 7.1 cent. So it's yeah, all looking pretty good. Quarter 2 revenues expected to increase between 8 and 3 and 13%. So starting to rise. Gross margin rising to 31.5 to 33.5. So up from 29.3, again because of higher sales from automotive. Automotive really starting to push on, becoming a larger part of revenue from sort of lower margin, screens and tablets and that sort of thing. The automotive side is a lot more profitable. They have announced a cash dividend of 29 cents per ADS, which is 100% of last year's profit. I guess this is a bit of a signal that they think profits are rising, but sort of it does flag up, people saying that payout ratio is too high and they're going to cut the dividend and that sort of thing. I think this is an indication that they think they don't really need to reinvest this any further or do buybacks. I guess they could have done buybacks. I don't mind too much having the dividend, even though I lose sort of withholding tax, obviously. And they do believe Q1 sales to be the low point of the year. So, as I say, Q2 they're saying should look pretty good, and they're expecting the second half of the year to be very nice. They're sort of releasing more sort of new products away from displays as well. They're Wise Eye sort of battery-powered devices and sort of palm vein readers and that sort of thing. All sorts of sort of diverse products, really getting more into VR sort of for the future as well. I think it could start to become a fairly diverse business from what was just sort of focused on TVs and sort of larger tablets and that sort of thing. just coming down to their figures, 3 months ended March 31st. They had a net profit of $12.4 million, which, if this is the low point of the year, isn't too bad, I would say. Could be looking at sort of 60, 70 million for the year, maybe a lot more. Diluted shares hasn't moved much at all, and cash on the balance sheet is increasing, which is good. Inventory coming right down as well. That was 335 million. It's now 201. So that's very good. They do have their current debt still, 453 million, but long-term debt is basically nothing. So guessing they're going to have to refinance that debt. I suppose they were sort of rolling it over, hoping to get lower rates, but it doesn't look like that's coming anytime soon. So they're going to have to sort of accept that in a higher rate. Just a couple of bits in their presentation I thought were interesting as well, showing their inventory levels coming down from sort of later part of Q 2022. It was at sort of 410 million. It's come right down into the 300s and then right down to 201 million, which they say is sort of a more healthy level. That was sort of roughly where it was, at sort of just post-COVID times, and they're sort of pretty happy to get to that. And just looking at some of their sort of things that they think this WiseEye AI technology can be put into, I thought was really interesting. Smart door locks and sort of sensing for parking systems, fleet management, occupancy sensing, pet tracking. A little bit strange, but they're saying because it's sort of single digit milliwatt, 2.2 milliwatt power consumption, you can put it in all sorts of things. You could have very small batteries, and it could be used for sort of all sorts of things. They're saying the palm vein technology as well is a great way of identifying people sort of at a low power. It's sort of your palm vein, they're saying, is almost as unique as iris scanning and that sort of thing. So door locks, automotive unlocking of things, parking, and all manner of stuff, really. As I say, diversifying from just sort of panel display drivers. So Pan American Silver, first quarter results, looking sort of pretty good. Maybe not my highest conviction miner at the moment. They are sort of already at $8 billion, which I think is potentially better out there, but they always do get a huge premium whenever silver does well. They do sort of, they're thinking going forward 30 million ounces of silver and 1 million ounces of gold. So that's the projection, but they're not quite there yet. Silver production of 5 million ounces and gold production of 222,000 for the first quarter. That was sort of in line with expectations. It has been a net loss, just coming down to their consolidated results. They're sort of still working through merger bits and pieces and sort of one-off write-offs and that sort of thing, selling off some of the assets that they bought that they see as non-core. But I think this is sort of a next year we're going to really see what a full year should bring, and hopefully sort of the Q2, 3, and 4 results are sort of going to start to look up. They paid 10-cent dividend as well. But so production wise, as I say, 5 million and 222,000. A little bit of zinc, lead, and copper as well. 1,700 tons of copper is sort of not too bad as well with the copper price. And then all-in sustaining costs have risen a little bit. I think this is sort of Q1 being not the best quarter. You've got to look at sort of a full year's worth. Now they've got their new mines up and running. About 1589 on the silver side, with silver rocketing up to 3170 yesterday. That should be rather nice. Hopefully, if that does come down a little as well for the year. But $1,580 gold, again, not too bad. Hopefully that's coming down for the rest of the year. But with $2,400 gold, that looks rather nice. Just looking at their breakdown as well, this has basically come from the higher costs have come from Mexico. So on the silver side, $25 all-in sustaining cost for the La Colorado Mexico mine. That's where they got 1.1 million of their silver ounces. And on the gold side, wasn't too good either. 17,000 ounces at $2,367 dollars per ounce. So that's sort of dragging things up a little bit. They've got a number of other mines at sort of, anywhere from 1,200 to 2,000. One in Canada, but that was it's not a huge mine. But yeah, I think sort of next few quarters, maybe looking at the whole year, should look better. The La Arena gold mine, as well as La Arena 2 in Peru, to Zijin Mining. They at closing they'll pay 245 million in cash, which is, reasonable amount of cash. But I thought quite interestingly they grant Pan American a life of mine net smelter royalty of 1.5%. So you get 1.5% of their revenue basically, regardless of all-in sustaining cost for the life of the mine. So royalties are always sort of extremely highly valued in sort of mining companies. You look at sort of most of the big miners, people like Wheaton and Franco-Nevada. In sort of good gold times, they'll get a 40 PE, 50 PE sometimes. So yeah, just having a little bit of royalty in Pan American can't be bad. Just quickly looking at Glencore as well, nothing really much to see here, but they put out their first quarter production report for 2024, so not earnings, just saying what they've produced, and it's sort of not ideal really. Copper down 2%, 239,000 tons, down from 244 before. Cobalt quite poor, 37% down, but then lead, nickel and gold slightly up. Not too bad really. 200,000 ounces of gold for the quarter. Obviously they're a much bigger miner than the gold miners that I'm looking at, but yeah, not too bad. Increase in gold while gold price is up, and 4.5 million ounces of silver as well. Coal is sort of pretty much in line, so yeah, not bad, and they haven't adjusted their guidance at all, it looks like, although pretty much all of them are sort of slightly lower than 2023, so not ideal, but hopefully the rising prices should more than make up for that. Just looking at economic news as well, so we had UK average earnings sort of slightly higher than expected, same as last month actually, but they were expected to drop. And sort of unemployment was a little bit better as well, less new claimants, and sort of slightly better employment change, although it was negative. But yeah, we had US PPI sort of slightly higher than expected. EU GDP was sort of confirmed pretty much as guidance. And then the US CPI numbers were sort of, again, pretty much in line with guidance. The core CPI's come down to 3.6%, although, still 0.3% on the monthly. So it's not as if annual is coming down because of very low monthly numbers. That's still 3.6% on if you annualise the monthly. So they will want that below. We'll have to see what that does to PCE. And the monthly headline CPI was slightly lower, although annual was still 3.4%. That was about it for news. So as I say, sort of a lot of the gains this week have come from from the ISA side. Clean Spark not actually doing very well at all, $16. But I mean, that's okay. We're expecting sort of good things for the rest of the year. Could be a little consolidation sort of this month, next month, maybe July as well. But yeah, the gold and silver miners, Coeur mining up to $5.88 now. That's sort of, don't think this is including the FX impact, so that's I think a little more than that. No, it's a little bit less, about 120%. Riot Platforms at $10. Equinox Gold 564. That's looking pretty good. One that I'd sort of not average down quite so low in the low points like I did with Coeur. Fortuna Mines 584. Again, very nice, about 70% green. And yeah, the REITs sort of aren't really doing a huge amount. They're up slightly from sort of last few weeks. Vici sort of was in the 28 to 29 range, so good to see that. And American Tower up slightly, but obviously these are very small positions now compared to the rest of the portfolio, so they don't have a huge impact. But I will be looking to get back into them in the future. Interactive brokers wise, looking very, very positive. Pan American up to 21.74, as I say, on sort of reasonably good earnings. I think people are sort of partly just looking to the future and partly just buying them because it has silver in the name and they're a big miner. Do hear so many people just sort of say they'll buy the biggest company out there, or they'll buy the biggest one with silver in the name and that sort of thing. It's not really the way to invest, I don't think, but there you go. KGHM as well, on the back of sort of high silver and high copper prices. I always thought this was a great mix, and yeah, 164 now, up to 41% in the green, so very happy with that. And on the invest side, Chinese tech actually starting to look up a little. Alibaba sort of, I think, has seen quite a good gain for the week. I'm not sure if that's earnings. I will have a look at Chinese earnings at some point. But yeah, it's all on the gold and silver miners really at the moment. My Coeur mining options up to 17,000 now, 400% on average in the green. Very nice. Equinox up to sort of, I have been adding a lot of Equinox, so that's not really quite as much in the green, but I do think now their new mine is pretty much open. That will be sort of running a fair bit, and I expect Equinox to probably become the largest position by far in here. I think it'll overtake Coeur mining quite a bit. Clean Spark, 8,400, not too bad. I'm not sort of not going to be adding, I don't think. Even the price drops don't seem to make these particularly good value. Himax though, even on a sort of a $1 increase in the share price off the back of these earnings and the week after earnings, has turned this from a £3,000 position into an £8,000 position. I was sort of quite a bit in the red, and it's now gone 73% green. I probably should have added a hell of a lot more when they were in the low, but it was, unsure as to how well they were going to do, so I didn't want to sort of gamble hugely. Fortuna Mines as well has sort of really picked up. These are end of this year options rather than end of next year, so they are very volatile, but yeah, 222% in the green. Riot as well, sort of, obviously Riot I'm in slightly in the red on, but they don't look tremendous value options. I think people still do expect crypto to do really well and the miners to do really well. So yeah, they sort of still potentially don't represent quite as good value as maybe even some of the gold and silver miners, even though they're sort of very green for me. And then yeah, Desktop Metal sort of was just more of a punt really. So yeah, interesting to see where we go. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, how you guys are doing and what you're buying at the moment, and like and subscribe. See you soon.